Namaste, Jai Bharat. We see that it's a normal case that people in general try to understand phenomenal world with the tools available to them. Naturally, one can only understand things or look at things or even evaluate things through the tools or concepts and, more strictly speaking, categories available to them. So such mistakes are very, very common, and at times we should call it as normal also. But then that doesn't mean that we will continue with the same mistake. It should be possible for us to make corrections sometime, whenever possible, wherever possible. That should be the spirit towards understanding and knowing. I say this because Europeans primarily and many of our people of Bharat, through copying them, make a distinction between theism and atheism. Theism and atheism. And then people of Bharat had translated back the notions and or concepts of theism and atheism as Nastika or Astika. Fine. And there is also an interesting similar concept, that is, we speak about vegetarianism and non-vegetarianism. There is a lot of confusion in it. You see, what in the European categories of understanding or concepts, what is it to say that somebody is a vegetarian and what is it to say that somebody is a non-vegetarian? It's simple, and a simple dichotomy is presented in front of you. So this is what happens in many cases with the European categorization of categories of understanding. They make it simple, whereas things are not that simple. They present it through dichotomies. Look at the idea of vegetarian, non-vegetarian. Who is a vegetarian? Anybody who eats only vegetable and not anything that is non-vegetable, means that is any kind of meat. Any kind of meat. So that becomes non-vegetarian. It's a simple dichotomy. But this concept is not the kind of concept that we Bharat have. Now that is very interesting. But we inadvertently and unknowingly make the distinctions between vegetarian, non-vegetarian, vegetarian, etc., etc., etc. In Bharatiya concept, things are more clear, but subtle. Clear, but subtle. You need to understand it. They categorize food into, this is Sankhya. It comes from the darshan of Sankhya. Sankhya is often called along with Sankhya Yoga because of another technical reason. But this primarily is coming from Sankhya, and the Sankhyas have got a guna theory. Guna, let me translate as quality theory, or attribute theory, or property theory. The Sankhya talks about three gunas. That is three kind of attributes: Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika. Sattvika is always positive. It's inappropriately translated simply as positive, but for want of another expression, Sattvika is positive, all good, all positive, all fine, etc. Rajasika is an admixture of negative and positive, in between. And Tamasika is purely negative. This Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika cannot be translated into English in this manner, but I can't help it for want of another expression. If somebody has a better way of saying it, is fine. So, now on the basis of this guna theory, they have also categorized food. Not only food, they have categorized quite a few things, but I am now talking about the food because I started talking about vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So they have categorized food. What is it? Satvika food, Rajasiga food, and Tamasiga food. This is not at all outrightly vegetarian or non-vegetarian, because vegetarian non-vegetarian is a kind of dichotomy, either this or that, either day or night or something like that. Now, they have categorized food also as Sattvika Ahara, that is Sattvika food, Rajasvika food, and Tamasika food. Now, what is Sattvika food? The food, Sattvika food, are those food which, after getting into your system, create Sattvika qualities. Look at the connection. Only those food which creates Sattvika qualities to your mind by their conception is called as Sattvika food. Same goes to Rajasvika and Tamasika. So with these three kind of understanding and criteria, they have classified food into Sattvika, Rajasvika, and Tamasika. Now, those food which creates Sattvika food, Sattvika qualities, attributes in your mind, they have stipulated. And Rajasvika also they have stipulated. That's admixture. And Tamasika also they have stipulated. Now, if you look at the list of this food, you will find many food which is understood as vegetarian by virtue of their being of plant product fall under Tamasika categories, because many of the vegetables, if you eat, they produce negative qualities, Tamasika qualities. For instance, garlic. Then I don't know what is the exact word in English, Masoor dal, Masoor gram. We call it as Masoor dal in Hindi. I don't know exactly what is it called in English. And like that, quite a few things. They are actually Tamasika food. And onion and many such things are Rajasika in between. That's an admixture of Sattvika and Tamasika. So, both in Rajasika and in Tamasika, you find many vegetables which are supposed to be vegetarians and which are not. Some of them are really hard non-vegetarians. In European way of the dichotomy of vegetarian, non-vegetarian. So, the food is classified into Sattvika, Rajasvika, Tamasika on the basis of the qualities or the attributes which such consumption of such food makes in your mind, produces in your mind. Now, this is another theory, that your mind shall have quality on the basis of the kind of food you eat. That's another theory of the Sankhya's also. And I don't know if it can be scientifically proved or not. But physically we can see these things around, in and around us. Look at an elephant and a common behavior of an elephant, and look at a cat and the common behavior of a cat. Now, how do you say who is more aggressive given a chance? Cat is a small animal. But who is more aggressive and who is more quiet? So that's a difference between consumption of Sattvika food and Rajasvika food and Tamasika food. So they have this theory. They say that your mind functions, or your mind function is also regulated to a great extent, regulated by the kind of food you eat. Because the food you eat goes into your system and affects your mind as well, not only your body. Affects your mind as well. Then your mind might function accordingly. A peaceful and serene and balanced kind of a composed mind is supposed to be a product of Sattvika food. And a turbulent mind with uncertainties and suspicions, apprehensions, etc., is supposed to be a product of your Rajasuga kind of food. Now, this kind of classification goes, whether you accept or not becomes secondary. Just because it is written there, just because I speak of this for knowledge, it doesn't mean that you will have to agree with me. Your agreement or disagreement doesn't really make a difference to the theories, but there are these theories. If they are convincing, that's how a Mimamsaka would say. If it is convincing, you say yes to it, and if it is not convincing, it is up to you to say no or refuse, whatever. But whatever you might do, you must do it on the basis of logic, on the basis of rationality, on the basis of reason, and not only simply a narrow kind of reason, but a wider kind of reason, where you take into consideration of the possibilities of other reasonings other than your own reasoning. So this kind of things must be done. So, like, this is a position of a Mimamsaka. If you're convinced, fine, and if you're not convinced, again, fine, in capital letters. I'm not going to insist you, I'm not going to prescribe. There's nothing prescriptive in a Mimamsaka kind of thought. One says what one feels, and he doesn't prescribe. It's up to you to say yes or not. Whether you say yes also makes no difference, or you say no also makes no difference. Nothing makes any difference to the speaker. All the differences may be made to you in your personal life, which also depends in any case. So, the kind of idea of vegetarian, non-vegetarian is totally not in line with the Bharatiya kind of classification of Sattvika, Rajasvika and Tamasika Guna theories, quality theories. Guna could be understood as qualities or properties or attributes. So, we have this theory of attributes, we have this theory of guna, we have this theory of quality, and food is also categorized into such qualities, and character is also categorized into these three properties, and behavior also is categorized into these three: Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika, etc. And you can say the whole cosmos, you can see these three levels of understanding and these levels of behavior: talking, thinking, composure, existence, and relations to others, not only to other human beings, relations to all other existing beings, and things like that. So, outrightly, a vegetarian non-vegetarian dichotomy does not exist in Bharatiya knowledge tradition. I don't know who misunderstood it, the Europeans, or they have understood it, which I don't have no idea. But then we have a definite understanding of food, and this food is based on the attributes it produces in you to your mind, whereas the vegetarian non-vegetarian dichotomy is based on the character of the food, that is flesh and non-flesh, and the flora fauna, that kind of a distinction. Plant and animal. Animal world is non-veg, plant world is veg. Now it is where you make a category, you make a classification on the food, just like that. But here we make a classification on the qualities produced through consumption of a given food to you, your body and mind. Now, which one is more apt, and which one is more thorough, and which one is more complete, of course, is for you to look at and evaluate. Well, so next time when you talk about vegetarian, non-vegetarian, please also bear it in mind that we have this classification as Sattvika, Tamasika, Rajasika, or Sattvika, Rajasika, Tamasika in Bharatiya knowledge tradition, which of course definitely is much older than other kinds of knowledge that comes to you of late, covered in color books. Let's meet again with another discussion another time. Till then, Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.